All right, guys, what's going on? So we're back. So I wanted to talk about workout cables. So let me give you an example of what it looks like. So whenever you go to the gym or fitness center, and you're always going to see them because they're, I guess, more modern equipment, but they're more wide used because they're a little bit less expensive to maintain, and it's just a little bit easier in terms of the overall upkeep. So it'll look like two poles, one on each side, and they'll have a handle at the end of them. And whenever you see people using them, you'll see them kind of doing a motion like this, kind of bringing it to take two cables together. So that's what they look like. Now, the purpose of them is to provide tension in the chest area. So think about whenever you do a chest workout or a push-up. Typically, you're kind of bringing, your chest together, and you're providing tension in that upper chest or chest area, whatever part of the chest you're working on. That's what the what's it called? That's what the cables are for. Is to provide tension there. It's to really, really strain the muscle there and actually get those tears because you're flexing the muscle. Now, the important part to understand is that there's pros and cons to doing not doing but to using cables. So I'm gonna go with the pros first. The pros are that it pretty much helps out with not having as much strain on the joints. So for example, if you're doing dumbbell flies, that's a lot of strain on the joints because you have to stabilize the muscle. You have to stabilize yourself and balance the weight, to keep it controlled. And that can have a lot of stress on the joints over time, especially as you start to go up in weight. Another thing is even with push-ups, that does start to wear and tear the elbows a little bit over time because that constant motion. And as you progress, maybe you start using weighted vests while you do push-ups, or you start adding any type of resistance. It overall strains the joint. So what cables do, I keep saying cable flies, but what cables do is they really help you to isolate the specific muscle. So the time to use them, I would say, would be at the end of a workout. So for me, if I'm in a gym, and because I work out at home, typically I don't go to gyms as much. But if I'm hanging out with a friend or if I'm on vacation and I go to a gym, I would typically do the cable fly last because it really isolates the muscle. I prefer the first thing to do is do big body movements and chest movements that incorporate the whole body or multiple muscle groups. So, for example, bench press, you're stabilizing your core a little bit. Even your shoulders are a little bit involved in bench pressing. And then when you're doing the flies, it directly isolates the chest. So that's better, like I said, for bodybuilders, for people who really want the aesthetics. But I would personally use it as a finisher. So when I was working out, when I was away at school, I would typically do stuff like that last. I would do, depending on how busy I was. If I was really busy, I would skip it. But if I had a lot of free time, I would probably just do it, as a workout itself. But like I said before, the purpose is so you can isolate that one muscle. So a good example of this away from the cables will be when you see a lot of machines, like sometimes you see bicep machines. Those are good, but the problem is that they don't really help you to not isolate, but they don't help you to work your stabilizer muscles. So for me, because I like to do full body stuff, I prefer to stand up and do curls because I'm working on my posture. My core is a teeny bit activated because I have to stabilize myself. Not a lot, but it's a little bit activated because you're keeping your posture up and you're trying to control the weight on the way down. Versus using the machine, like I said, you're getting the same results, but I'm not building other things that I want. So that's why machines and stuff like that focus on one muscle group, they're good to finish off the workout, or they're better if maybe you're short on time, you just want to target the muscle. That's all they're for, to target that one muscle, because it's not a compound movement. So that's why you really, really want to make sure that you understand what each piece of equipment is for. And like I said, I go back to my story of when I was only using machines, and how much I did grow certain parts of my body, that my stabilizers were weak. So I was overall physically weak, but I did gain the mass that I wanted, but I wasn't as strong as I should have been. And then when I started using compound movements, doing bench press and stuff, eventually I started to not only get bigger, so my physique increased, but I got a lot stronger. So now some workout that you can do. So you can do, like I said, the flies. Some people use the cables for bicep curls. So I did this because I had worked out in a gym that you could kind of interchange the handles. So I would, take the handle that was like a bar, and I would do my curls. And like I said before, I typically did them after I did my compound movements. I would typically use cables. So you can do it for that. But typically for chest, you're going to have to just use both ends and do the flies. Or even if you want to do, like I said, depending on how crowded the gym is, because that can be an issue too. What you can do is you can do one side. So if you have one side because the other side is taken, you're in a crowded gym, you take one side and you kind of position yourself as if you were stretching, and you do one chest at a time. So you kind of, you hold on to the pole, and then, you kind of turn yourself away from it. And it's kind of hard because my camera isn't big enough, but, you pretty much just do it as if you were stretching, and you just use the cable, and you just do one side and you do the other side. So that's a little trick you can use when sometimes it's a bit crowded, because I know that January is coming, so the gyms get a little bit more crowded. But there's a lot of stuff that you can do. You can do mostly, of course, pull movements. Some push in a little bit because of chest, but mostly a lot of pull movements you can do. So that's all I got in terms of cables. Just understand, like I said, there's more of an isolation but isolation workout. It isolates the muscle that you want to target. So just take note of that, understand what it's for. But there's a lot of workouts. I might post one today. But there's a lot of workouts that you can use with my overall idea on cables is that they're really, really good. So try it out, see how it works for you.